Le comble de la distinction, the second official movement of the Soirée de Nozelles of Francis Poulenc. And in the studio, we have the very pianist you heard play it, Monsieur David Jalbert, 3-time Juno nominee, 4-time Prix Opus winner, Canada Council for the Arts Virginia Parker Prize winner. He's been playing at the Agassiz Festival this week already. Saturday, he performed Dvorak Piano Quintet. Sunday, Vaughan Williams Quintet. Tonight, he'll appear with Karmit Zori, who was in the morning show with Michael Walsh, as well as tomorrow afternoon's solo recital featuring music of Poulenc and Satie, and also Friday night appearing with Thomas Zauer on a piano for hands, Ravel's Ma Mère Loi. David, welcome back to Winnipeg. It's so good to have you in the studio.
Thank you so much.
You are a pianist of virtuosity and versatility. I know you were here playing the Goldberg Variations not too long ago, but also your program, this Agassiz Festival has Stravinsky. We also have Ralph Vaughan Williams. So tell us a little bit about what inspires you from each edge of your musical journey.
Well, the sheer search for variety. I think you're like that also. I mean, I would categorize myself as a GP, a general practitioner. I like to kind of give attention and time and spend time with all sorts of different composers from different eras, immerse myself in different styles, and kind of become a different person through all of these experiences. I think when you spend 2 years in the Goldberg Variations doing nothing else, it's a very special artistic experience and journey. And then, of course, one feels like doing something different eventually. So I think I just like the variety. There's such a great variety of repertoire for piano, so I try to take advantage of that as much as I can.
And you're an avid chamber musician. I mean, Agassiz Festival isn't the only time that you're playing with other people. You played, or I just heard a recording of Some Rachmaninoff that you did with Ginny Strokic. And also you play with a triple forte piano trio. And you've recorded some of Poulenc's music for winds and piano as well.
That's right.
Tell us about that experience. I mean, getting into Poulenc's wind music.
Oh, it's such great music. He's kind of Mozart for wind players. He's the composer that really gave them attention and wrote several sonatas and ensemble pieces for winds. So wind players have a very special affection for Poulenc, and so do I. I really enjoy his music, his style, his humor, his mix of melancholy with these touches of French popular music of his time. He blends the styles so well. It's really an interesting artistic project. And he's so bavard, meaning talkative. His music is never boring for 1 second. It just jumps from one thing to the other. So very, very interesting composer. And these wind sonatas are beautiful. All of them late works, very mature works. And of course, the star of the show, I guess, in terms of wind music, is the piano sextet. So it's for woodwind quintet and piano, and that's one of my favorite pieces in the world. I've played it with Pentaèdre, this wonderful wind ensemble that I recorded these with. I've played it with them a bunch of times, including just recently in Montreal at Salle Bourgie. And every time, I'm just elated. After playing this piece, I'm kind of walking on a cloud.
Well, speaking of Poulenc's inspiring nature in his music, his humor, his quirkiness, this album that you've just released, Le Comble de la Distinction, I have to say, the cover work, I was like, that's Cocteau.
That's right.
So, the relationship between Cocteau and Poulenc in text, in character, in that kind of, post-surrealist vein, is that something that you wanted to express in this album? Because I'm looking at the rest of the repertoire, and it kind of feels like you're trying to get at that core of that relationship between Poulenc and that post-impressionist or post-surrealist kind of color.
Right. Well, exactly, because this is an album of music by Poulenc and Satie, Right. And Satie was a bit older, and he was really someone who's influenced Poulenc a lot. Poulenc was a big admirer of his and went to play for him when he was young, and they remained friends for a long time until they fell out, but most people fell out with Satie at some point. Of course, Satie worked with Jean Cocteau quite a bit, and the ballet Parade, which was major work for Éric Satie, was arranged with Jean Cocteau. We did the settings, the sets for it, and wrote the argument for it.
And Picasso did all of the original costumes, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And then, it's this group of people, and then Jean Cocteau championed Le Groupe des Six, so the group of six who were young revolutionary composers of the time, and that included Poulenc, Germaine Taillefer, and
Darius Milhaud,
of course. I'm not going to try to name them all
okay,
because I'll forget one, and it'll be embarrassing. So through that, he got to work with Jean Cocteau. So there's a tie between Satie, Cocteau, and Poulenc. I mean, these people knew each other, and I thought that it would be nice to make an album that really represented that period. And I thought the title, The Epitome of Distinction, which is the title of one of the variations of Poulenc in Soirée de Nazelle, was just exactly the right the right vibe. It describes this music.
Let's talk a minute about the Soirée de Nazelle, and also about Poulenc's relationships with his friends and how he chose to write music for them, I think. So we talk about the Soirée de Nazelle. Technically, they're supposed to be variations on characters of friends of his.
That's right.
Right? And then we have his homage as well. You're playing two of his homage, one to Edith Piaf. Tomorrow we'll hear you. And on the album, you also record the homage à Schubert.
Yeah.
Which was really amazing. Could you comment on maybe what the relationship of Poulenc's personal circle and his relationship to his music and communicating those relationships?
He wrote Soirée de Nazelle as a sort of series of improvisations, actually. He claims to have improvised these movements.
Okay.
They're really portraits, musical portraits of friends. He gives each movement a different title, which hints at the character of the person he's representing with this movement. But we don't know who it is, which one of his friends this one movement is. Say, the perky old age, l'alerte vieillesse. Who is that?
Yeah.
It's kind of more fun to have to imagine it, or perhaps think of our own, our own friends and relations.
Yeah.
So he wrote them as a series of improvisations that he later wrote out and arranged by adding a préambule, a prelude, the preamble, and then a finale. On the end of it, he created this cycle. That was initially improvisations, and he decided to make a big carnival-like suite out of it. It's really inspired by Schumann's Carnival, and since it's Schumann's birthday, I thought I would say that.
Great, yeah.
But that's really the model for the piece, I think.
Excellent. I feel like we should have a little bit of music, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about the Satie side of what we can expect from your recital. Also about these other three gymnopédies that are written by a composer I have never heard of, so we'll talk about that in a moment. But first, a little bit more music from Monsieur Jalbert, the Improvisation numéro 12, the hommage à Schubert. Because we'll hear the hommage Edith Piaf tomorrow afternoon at Egray Hall at noon for those of you who want to join us. It's $12 for regular admission, $6 for students. Not so bad. Starts at noon. It should be really fun. All right. This Improvisation numéro 12 of Poulenc from David Jalbert. And we are back in the Diamond Lane on Classic 107 in Winnipeg with me, your host, Sarah Jo, and live in the studio, pianist David Jalbert, performing this week at the Agassiz Chamber Music Festival. For more information on the festival, please visit agassizfestival.com. AGASSIZ is how to spell it. Or you can go to our website, classic107.com. Monsieur Jalbert, it's a pleasure to still have you here with us.
My pleasure.
Excellent. So we are I'm particularly looking forward to tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to swing by on my bike on my way to work and manage, I hope, to see all of tomorrow's recital, featuring Satie, Poulenc, and Mascal and Stravinsky. Very interesting. Okay, so we've been talking a little bit about your album, Le Comble de la Distinction, that just came out with music of Satie and Poulenc. Now, on this recital tomorrow, you have a few things from the album, including a few additions. Now, the Satie Gymnopédie, the Trois Gymnopédies, why did you program them? Like, what is the appeal for you? I mean, they're super, like Debussy orchestrated 1 and 3. They've been super famous. What was the appeal for you to program those?
I thought it was, if I was going to record any Satie, I thought these are seminal works.
Yeah.
And also, since all of Poulenc's music, especially the music on the album that I chose, is very energetic, usually very fast, very talkative, as I said, this is the complete opposite, right? The Gymnopédie by Satie are meditations. They're trying to hark back to ancient Greek music, which we have no idea about. Of course, we have no idea how it sounded, but it's a meditation, and they're very they've caught lightning in a bottle in the way that the modal harmonies give them a certain timelessness, and yet there's so many elements of them that are kind of borrowed from popular music of that day, right? Because that was what Satie was doing, what Poulenc was doing. What Stravinsky was doing, but in Russia, with Russian music rather. So it gives them a familiarity, but at the same time, this timelessness. So they're very interestingly profound music of the surfaces, because it feels like it's a surface that you're looking at, very thinly written, very few notes, very spare, and yet you feel like you're looking into the lake. You can see the reflections, but you can see a lot of the depths as well.
Beautiful. Now, the encore trois gymnopédies that are not by Satie.
That's right.
So they're by a guy named Maskal.
Richard Maskell.
Oh, Maskell.
Maskell, who's a wonderful minimalist composer.
Okay.
And he's played quite a bit, and I really enjoy everything he writes. I think he's phenomenally talented. And he loves Satie's Gymnopédies. For him, it's been one of these works that have really influenced his writing all his life. And he decided as an homage to write 3 Gymnopédies of his own. And I thought, well, how perfect. I should program these right after the Satie. I haven't done that before. It'll be my first time playing them tomorrow. And it makes for quite a bit of slow music back to back, like the 6. But Richard's take on them is very interesting, because it's very similar to Satie's in that he takes very many elements of the Gymnopédie, right? They're all slow waltzes. So he takes that from them. But what elements of popular music harmonies that Satie takes from his time, we're talking late 1880s when he wrote those. Richard Maskell uses elements of popular music of today. That is jazz and blues in a way.
Cool.
So rather than being slightly French popular music tinged, they are blues tinged.
Excellent.
And it makes them super interesting and appropriately, I think, Gymnopédie-esque, but with these wonderful elements of blues in them that really kind of are just the right tribute to pay to Satie, I thought.
Perfect. I can't wait to hear them tomorrow.
They're great.
Very much looking forward to it. And also, of course, to your Stravinsky, which you play quite often.
Yes.
And we play quite often here on the station.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And with joy, we do. Along with the Gymnopédie, of course, you have these light and lovely valses distinguées du précieux dégoûté, which are just stunning and, sparkly and perfectly Satie. And I am also looking forward to later this week when you're playing more music for friends on one bench. You get to play the Merlois suite of Ravel with Thomas Sauer.
Yes.
How much do you love that?
I love that piece kind of more than anything in the world, I think. I played them recently with Jean-Philippe Collard, who's a great French pianist, and he told me after the first rehearsal, I think these are just the best pieces in all of French music. And I realized on the spot that I'd agreed with him all my life. Ravel wrote it's 5 short pieces that he wrote for 2 children. They were 7 years old, a brother and a sister, and they were supposed to give the premiere, but the little girl backed out because she was terrified. So they're very spare in the writing, even though not quite so easy that I would give them to a 7-year-old.
Right.
But and so there's this childishness about them. They're based on fairy tales, but it's the most touching and pure music you can imagine. I'm just
so
crazy
for
about
Friday
this
night
set.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be so great. Also on Friday night's program, I know there's some more fun music with
There's
friends.
lots of
Clapping
great
music is happening of Steve
great
Reich.
stuff
That is so fun.
Yeah.
I can't believe, again, I'm just going to say it again and again and again. This year's Agassiz Festival program is probably one of the most beautifully designed festival programs I've seen in a really long time, one of the most diverse programs. And I'm so glad that you get to be part of it.
So am I.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
And also tonight with Carmen Zori, you can see David Jalbert at Eckhardt-Gramatté Hall at the University of Winnipeg. He's going to be performing some music for violin and piano of Mozart.
Yes.
Look at you being so just everywhere.
And then they're doing a beautiful Mozart quintet, and there's a Schnittke string trio to clean the palette in between.
It's going to be amazing. For more info, please visit agassizfestival.com. You can go to our website, classic107.com. The Agassiz Festival inviting all of these magical people in, and so lucky to have you back in Winnipeg, Monsieur Jalbert. It has been a pleasure to have you. I would love to let our audiences indulge in one more piece of something that you've played and something that you will be playing tomorrow afternoon. A little taste, an amuse-bouche, I guess, in a way. We are going to hear the second Gymnopédie of Erik Satie, the one that Debussy didn't orchestrate.
That's right. Somehow Satie never gave him the rights to that one.
Only the second.
Very strange, and no one figured out why ever. It's the most mysterious and mystical of the bunch, I think.
Well, I'm so glad that we're going to get to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, join us, please, tomorrow afternoon at noon at Eckhardt-Gramatté Hall. Of course, tonight as well, and Friday night, you can see Monsieur Jalbert tinkling the ivories, as we say. All right, this is Gymnopédie numéro 2 of Erik Satie. It has been such a pleasure to have you.
My pleasure.
I hope you
so
enjoy
much.
the rest of your time here in Winnipeg.
Thank you.
Right.